Yeah.
Moving on to the New York Football Giants, BCAP. You said last week the NFC East is a beneficiary of very easy schedules, very easy
Mm-hmm.
games, and the Giants came out and at home beat the Baltimore Ravens with a second half rally. And now we're looking at back-to-back weeks where they've beaten Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, and in week one, a Tennessee team that has looked solid this year. They have one of the best coaches in football. I ask you, the Giants' upcoming schedule is one of the easiest in football. I think they're going to at least split in these next three games, which would set them up to start the year 8-4. So next week they have the Jacksonville Jaguars,
Mm-hmm.
the Seattle Seahawks,
Yep.
which is only one of the two teams that are 500 they're playing,
Mm-hmm.
the Detroit Lions,
Then we got the Texans next,
the Texans, yeah,
and then the Lions.
then the Cowboys.
Yep.
November
I'm gonna,
24th.
I'm
Might be,
gonna
I
tell you this.
think it's Thanksgiving.
Listen, everybody, a lot of people said that. Or I was listening to a show, and they were saying the Giants could be 9-1, winning their next four. I don't see that. I think the Jaguars have lost their last two, if I'm not mistaken, maybe three. They need a win. They need to get a win. They need to get back on track. And Trevor Lawrence, he played phenomenal yesterday. He only missed two passes the entire game. Um, it's in Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville can get a W there. They're desperate. They need to get a dub. Seattle. I'm sorry. I remember the hype like last week or 2 weeks ago of everybody and their mother saying Geno Smith is better than Russell Wilson, and Geno Smith is playing like a top 10 quarterback. All of a sudden, now the Giants are just going to roll into Seattle with the 12th man and beat the Seahawks. Okay. Um, Texans, I'll give you. Giants are going to beat the Texans. It's in New York. And then the Lions will give anybody a tough out. It's in New York, so that's favoring New York, but the Lions will give anybody a tough out. So listen, man, they could easily lose three games right there. Easily lose three games.
If that's the case, and they win at three, that's 8 wins before December even begins. And you want to know the craziest thing about that, BCAP?
Let me hear it.
They've had 0 games yet against the Commanders.
Yeah.
That's two
But again,
wins.
I heard that before, but are we gonna sit here and act like that's not a divisional game? Like even a terrible team will play you good if you're in the division. Like we've seen that multiple times throughout the history of the NFL. I'm not gonna sit here and say the Commanders are gonna win both games, but could they beat New York in Washington? 100%. That could happen.
I think it's rather safe to assume the Giants at least take one of those two games.
Yes, no, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying we can't sit here and say Giants are 100% going to sweep the Commanders twice. The, it's a divisional game. Like the Commanders can still win a game.
That's
Taylor
reasonable.
Heineke's back under center. We all like ourselves a Taylor Heineke. I think he's got moxie, dude. I like that kid. I like him.
Ideal backup.
Yeah, like the spunk.
But here's the thing, BCAP. They're missing Kadarius Toney, the fourth receiver taking a loaded receiver class. Wan'Dale Robinson just came back. Saquon has been dealing with shoulder issues. Daniel Jones has been playing through an ankle injury. And the seventh overall pick in Kayvon Thibodeau missed the first 3 weeks of the season with a sprained MCL. You now inject all of that talent to the receiver room with an offensive line that's not very good, but Andrew Thomas is an elite left tackle, and Saquon, in spite of the O-line, is playing at an offensive player of the year caliber level. This Giants offense is doing enough to win games in the winning moments.
So what I'll say is now let's introduce to you guys BetStamp. Now BetStamp is a all-in-one marketplace because every sports book has different odds. On FanDuel, they got Detroit Lions at plus 194. Oh, those are good odds. I'm getting an underdog at a good price. But wait, Sugar House has them at plus 215. Get a little bit more bang for your buck, and that's what it's all about when you're betting. You can track all your bets through all the sports books, and I'll have that right there in one convenient place for you to look. And our referral code is WISEGUYS, WISEGUYS. That's Wise Guys. And like I was saying, the biggest thing with BetStamp, guys, it's free. I'm sorry. Our new dog just freaked out upstairs, and I missed the first part of what you said. Could you repeat what you
I
said
think that
at
was
the beginning?
I think that was his excitement of Kadarius Toney playing NFL football.
No, it was a cry for help. I think he was upset at your take, John. Um, Yeah, what you said about the Giants? You said, um, oh, they're dealing with injuries. That's what I wanted to attack. Right. I'm not giving you that anymore, John. We had this discussion. Me, you, and Justin, we're all here. We had this discussion. You don't do that. You said, and I quote, if you're injured, I'm going to evaluate them. So evaluate them, John. Evaluate them.
He's been out with a hamstring injury.
No, I'm talking to
Darius.
everybody else because you said Daniel Jones is playing through injury. I don't care if Daniel Jones wasn't playing through injury. He'd still be giving you the same game managing quarterback and below average quarterbacks numbers that he's giving you. He's not giving you good like what
What's
what are
the
we gonna say?
problem with these winning games?
I'm not saying there's a problem, but and I'm not going to sit here and act like Daniel Jones is a franchise quarterback when he's not.
Well, that's stating the obvious. What hasn't been said about Daniel Jones at this point? The end of the day, you look at this Giant team, Daniel Jones is running the offense at a good level. He's converting on possession downs, and he's using that athleticism and toughness to kind of instill the type of tone the Giants want to set. And Brian Dable, the offensive coordinator, has maximized the skill set of this entire offense, which doesn't have much currently. But when you get all of that talent back by week 15, let's say, you have Tony on the outside. Sterling Shepard won't be back, but you will have Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton, who's played relatively well. That's a good receiving core. You got a little bit of versatility there and a high upside guy in Tony.
That's another thing I wanted to talk about is the receivers that you named. Again, none of those receivers blow my hair back, especially when you got a Daniel Jones under center. That's like this isn't Aaron Rodgers we're talking about, and they're getting a Devonte Adams. These are guys that have talent, obviously, right? They have promise. They're young guys, but none of them are blowing your socks off. None of them. None of them are Justin Jefferson. None of them are Jamar Chase. I don't think so. Now Saquon, I'll give you Saquon been balling. Saquon been balling, but again, Saquon got hurt. Now he played through that, but
You know,
Saquon got hurt again.
you know who leads the NFL in yards from scrimmage this year, right?
Is it Saquon?
Not Justin Jefferson, not Jamar Chase, not Devontae Adams. It's the bell cow in that Giant offense.
Saquon Barkley. Listen, I'm not saying that they're not playing well, but I'm not going to overblow them still. I'm still not going to overblow them. Listen, this Ravens team also has fundamental flaws. Fundamentally flaws. Lamar Jackson in the fourth quarter, John, this year, 1 touchdown to 4 interceptions. He has a QBR of 28. I think I saw they're a minus 42 in point differential in the fourth quarter this year. They can't close. This Ravens team can't close. And again,
Fortunately, they've
we were hyping the Ravens up and Lamar especially too earlier in the season, saying he's going to deserve his money. Guess what? These are the stats right here, John, that the Ravens front office is going to pull up and say, you're not getting 200 plus million, 250 million from us because this is what's happening. Again, the Giants are
Baltimore is
winning the
another
games
team.
they're winning. Yeah, Giants are winning the games they're winning, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my God, life has changed in New York. Sorry.
If New York makes the playoffs this year, I want you to have the perspective in the last 12 years, since 2010, three New York teams, or New Jersey teams, because the Buffalo Bills, the only New York team, have made the playoffs. The Jets in 2011, and the Giants in 2016 and 2011. I don't know if the Jets even made it during that time. So for the Giants to get into the playoffs, even if they lose in the wild card game, that is a huge thing for New York, much like the Knicks when they made in 2021. That's a huge step. Brian Dable will be the coach of the year. Saquon will be high up in the offensive player of the year race. And most of all, this defense, in spite of having a couple of injuries to some key young players, is showing a lot of upside. Leonard Williams, Kayvon Thibodeau, Julian Love. It's a very good unit, slowly developing. Most of all, this Giant team is well coached.
Still don't got a quarterback.
Here's what I
That's what it
value,
comes down
Brandon.
to.
A GM in Joe Shane who has come into New York, instilled the right principles, attacked the draft in a way that is conducive to building the team so that when the quarterback comes in to replace Daniel Jones, or if it's Daniel, they're set up to succeed.